Sometimes you come across an ancient ritual that at first glance just looks like a list of rules. But today we're going to see how one of these daily routines was actually a very specific recipe, not for food, but for a divine appointment.
So what's it take to actually create a meeting with the divine? Well, according to this text from Exodus, it all starts with a recipe, a very specific one that had to be followed every single day. No exceptions.
Okay, so here are the basics. You need 2 young lambs, one for the morning, one for the evening. And along with those, you've got some choice flour, a special kind of oil, and wine. Seems pretty straightforward, right? But oh, the magic, as always, is hiding in the details.
So let's really get into these ingredients. Because when you look at them through the eyes of classic commentators like the legendary Rashi, who's been a go-to source for centuries, you find that every little measurement, every description is packed with meaning.
I mean, look how specific this gets. The text says a tenth of a measure of choice flour. Okay, but what on earth is that? Well, the commentator Rashi actually does the math for us. He says it's the same volume as 43 1/5 eggs. How's that for a specific and kind of strange measurement for something so sacred? And that insane level of detail doesn't stop with the flour. Every single ingredient has its own backstory, its own rules, and when you look closely, you start to see this deeper logic behind it all. Let's take the oil, for example. The text is very clear. It has to be beaten oil. Now, this isn't your average olive oil. Rashi explains this is the absolute best stuff, the oil that comes from the very first press of the olives, before they're even milled. It's the purest, clearest, top-of-the-line oil you could get. But here's where it gets nuanced.
And this is just brilliant. See, for the menorah, that great lampstand in the sanctuary, this top-quality oil was mandatory. Nothing else would do. But for this daily meal offering we're talking about, it was just permissible. You could use it, sure, but you could also use a lesser quality oil. It's like the text is telling us that the light required absolute perfection, but the daily meal had a bit more flexibility. Now, beyond what was in the recipe, the text puts a huge emphasis on when it happened. This wasn't just a special occasion thing. The whole point was for it to be a regular burnt offering throughout the generations. That points to something constant, something rhythmic, at the very heart of it all. And this gets us to a really important Hebrew word that's key to understanding this whole thing, the word tamid. It's all about that constant, daily rhythm. Now, tamid usually gets translated as continual or regular, but Rashi really sharpens that for us. He says it literally means from day to day, and the most important part is that you could not let a single day pass without it. It had to be an unbroken chain, a steady heartbeat for the entire community.
So, okay, we have this super detailed recipe, performed meticulously, every single day, without a break. You gotta ask, why? What was the whole point of all this constant, elaborate effort?
And right here is where the story shifts. We move from the how of the ritual to the incredible why. Because this daily offering wasn't just about giving something. It was about creating something, a divine meeting place. And there it is, the payoff. The promise is given directly to Moses right at the entrance to the tent of meeting where all this was happening. It's the constant ritual that literally creates the space for God to communicate. There I will meet with you, and there I will speak with you.
What's really interesting is that Rashi points out that ancient scholars actually debated where exactly this communication happened. Was it right there at the outer altar? Or did the daily offering make the entire space holy so the voice could then come from the most sacred spot inside, from above the Ark of the Covenant?
And then the promise gets even bigger. It's not just a private line to Moses. The very next phrase says, "And there I will meet with the Israelites." So this daily act, performed by the community, opens up a meeting place for the entire nation.
Now, this divine meeting does more than just allow for a conversation. It actually transforms the space itself. It becomes sanctified, made holy, simply by the presence it invites.
The verse says, "And it shall be sanctified by my glory." That's a powerful idea on its own. But Rashi, tapping into this amazing ancient tradition, shows us that there's a second, hidden, and frankly tragic meaning tucked away inside these exact same words.
So the Hebrew for by my glory is bichvodi. That's the straightforward, plain reading of the text.
But the ancient sages noticed something. If you just change the vowel points, which weren't in the original scrolls, that same word, bichvodi, can be read as bimkubadai, which means through my honored ones.
And this, Rashi explains, was a prophecy, a really dark one.
It suggested the tabernacle would become holy not just through God's glory, but through the tragic deaths of his honored ones. This was a chilling prediction of what would happen to Aaron's 2 sons, Nadav and Abihu, who died on the very day the tabernacle was dedicated. And Moses himself confirms it later, saying that their deaths fulfilled this exact prophecy. Through those that draw near to me will I be sanctified.
So let's just cull all of this together. We've gone from the tiny details of a recipe to the huge purpose of a nation, and even into this deep, heartbreaking prophecy.
The ultimate point of this whole system, the offerings, the meetings, the holy space, it's all spelled out in the very next verse. The goal is to create a world where God can abide among the Israelites and be their God. The ritual, you see, is the foundation for the entire relationship.
And that's the whole journey, right there. It all starts with a super detailed daily ritual. That ritual creates a constant, unbreakable rhythm. That rhythm establishes a sacred place for communication. That meeting place allows God's presence to dwell with the people. And that, the text tells us, was the whole reason for the exodus from Egypt in the first place, so this relationship could finally exist.
It really leaves you with a final thought, doesn't it? This ancient recipe frames a daily routine not as a chore, but as the engine for creating connection and meaning. So it kind of makes you wonder, what are the consistent daily recipes that we do, maybe without even realizing it, that create the real meeting places in our own lives?